Lord Jesus Christ, King of endless glory. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ, King of endless glory. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ, King of endless glory. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ, King of endless glory. One does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes forth from the mouth of God. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ, King of endless glory. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ, King of endless glory.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Glory to you, O Lord. At that time, Jesus was led by the Spirit into the desert to be tempted by the devil. He fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, and afterwards he was hungry. The tempter approached and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command that these stones become loaves of bread." He said in reply, "It is written, one does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes forth from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him to a holy city and made him stand on the parapet of the temple and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and with their hands they will support you, lest you dash your foot against a stone." Jesus answered him, "Again it is written, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test." Then the devil took him up to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in their magnificence. And he said to him, "All these I shall give to you, if you will prostrate yourself and worship me." At this Jesus said to him, "Get away, Satan. It is written, the Lord your God shall you worship, and him alone shall you serve." Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and ministered to him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
My sisters and brothers in Christ, in southern Mexico lies a Cueva de Villa Luz, or Cave of the Lighted House. And as you make your way to the cave, you walk through an absolute paradise of tropical birds and lush rainforest. Underwater, the cave is fed by 20 underground springs, and beautiful waterways abound with tiny fish. The cave itself is home to spectacular rock formations and beautiful ponds. And the cave itself is tempting to explore, and it is very enticing. Yet accept the invitation of this allure, and you'll soon be dead. You see, the Cueva de Villa Luz is filled with poisonous gases. The cave is full of gases created from sulfur and bacteria, requiring you to wear a respirator before entering the cave. In all this beauty is the risk of harmful consequences. Temptation is just like this. It represents itself to us as something inviting, attractive, maybe even life-giving. It pulls us in. Yet in reality, it can be poisonous and toxic to us. Our lives are full of temptations. And even now, in a way, your Lenten sacrifice and what you chose to do may give you a small dose of temptation, especially if you really enjoy what you gave up. And I know for the children today, and yes, even some adults, giving up their video games or social media would be a 24/7 temptation. Might even be a nightmare. But let me ask you this. Was there ever a time in your life where you had to make a tough decision? Or you made a choice purely out of your own need or desire, knowing that it might hurt someone or make a good situation bad? That thought process that you took to decide on what your action would or would not be is like the wilderness that Jesus felt. Jesus went into the desert for 40 days and nights that is hot, parched, and barren. He wandered with no food or water, becoming weak and vulnerable. Consider how you get when you're tired or worn down after a long day at school or work. And compound this times 40 days and 40 nights. The devil tempted Jesus to turn the stones into bread, throw himself down so God could send angels to protect him, for Jesus to prostrate himself before the devil and to worship him. The devil further sweetened the pot by telling Jesus he would give him all the kingdoms of the world. What would you have done? What did you do when you had to make that hard decision? We see the human Jesus at his weakness and most vulnerable to temptation. His temptations were as real as ours are. And in all his humanity, Jesus changed the fate of the world with 3 words: "Get away, Satan." In recognizing the power of evil and the goodness of God, Jesus chooses for the good of us, of all humanity, and all of our genuine human freedoms. Sometimes the hardest thing to do in life is what? To do what is right. To walk away and turn a blind eye to the temptation, because no matter what it is, if it rose to the level of temptation, it probably is not good. Or you could get away with what you have done but at what cost? Unless you don't have a conscience, it would be at a great cost, because it would always be on your mind, sitting there, gnawing at you. It is called integrity, by doing the right thing even when no one is looking. And it is our obedience to God that elevates our free choice to our perfect freedom. This isn't about Jesus turning stones into bread. It has to do with how we use our God-given gifts, our talents, and our abilities. The temptation is for us to use our gifts to make a living for ourselves. And Jesus would later in his ministry multiply the bread to feed others, but he would not do it in the desert to feed himself. Do we see our talents and abilities, our jobs and professions, as a means to serve others, or simply as a means to make a living for ourselves? It can do both. There was a movie in the mid-90s called The Devil's Advocate. Some of you may remember that. And Al Pacino played the devil. And he said, "Look at me, underestimated from day one. You'd never think I was a master of the universe, now would you? I'm a surprise. They don't even see me coming." That, my brothers and sisters, is what is waiting for you in the wilderness of your decision-making process. Think of that the next time you contemplate doing what is right versus doing what is wrong. They don't even see me coming. So today, let us open our eyes to what keeps us from God, which is sin. Let us not travel into the poisonous caves of temptation. And in the coming weeks, when you feel tempted or have decisions or choices to make, pray to Jesus to walk with you. And if you feel temptation is getting the better of you, say the words that Jesus used. Get away, Satan. May God bless us all.